part of it. So kudos to the team.
Well, tell you what, someone who is intimately familiar with helping people through the adjustment that we've all had to make in some form or other is our good friend Therese Arriola. She is the executive director of the Guam Behavioral Wellness Center. She joins us right now on the KUM News Zoom room. Buenas, Therese. Happy day. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining us.
Buenas. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's a Monday.
It
2
is.
weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, 2 weeks. And around this time, it's usually busy for the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. I can only imagine. You couple that with what we're going through with the pandemic. So, Therese, if you could just kind of give us an update on how things are going for you and your staff over at your agency.
Thank you very much for asking. We're doing well. We have been open. We're one of those essential departments have been open and never closed during the pandemic. That's what we're here to do. We're here to serve and help people through their difficult times. During the holiday season, that is when in the past, pre-COVID, it's interesting because that's what we're going to be dating things from moving on.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID. That's how we're going to be, because it's a major event in our lives. I guess that's how our elders felt with the war, right? With World War II, And so this is our generation's war, if you will.
I agree, Teresa. And has anyone else, when you watch a movie or a TV show that was before COVID, you kind of get anxiety because you see so many people gathering, you see, close contact. It's just like we're so conditioned now to social distance, to wear a mask. When you see something like that, it's just it gives you that little bit of an anxiety.
You see that when pictures go around on WhatsApp, and so you start questioning them. When was this? How come you guys aren't masking? And then they have to always put a tagline. Oh, this was last year. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then everyone's like, sigh of relief. But yeah, we're kind of paranoid in that sense as a community, right? I mean, especially when you see pictures going around and people gathering and hugging and putting their arms around each other, and you're wondering, what's going on? Why are they not? And only to find out it was last year. Or something like that. So especially when pictures start going around about reminiscing of last Christmas.
Yeah.
And so we're in the Christmas season, so you see pictures of Christmas trees in the background, and you're panicking because why are they gathering during Christmas time right now? But only to find out it was last year. And people, that's part of coping, right? People are sharing and reminded that this will happen again. The putting their arms around their loved ones, gathering around the Christmas tree, taking a picture, gathering around the holiday table and eating is all going to happen again. And that's the sense of hope that it's what really the holiday is all about, COVID or not. Christmas is about the hope and the anticipation of the coming of Christ. And I'm not trying to be religious, but it is religious. When you say Christmas, it's because Christ was born. Thus the word Christmas. So you can't help but, that hope and anticipation about a baby being born, right? So, and it's so wonderful and timely because that's what our people need. What they've been needing since March, the knowledge of knowing that this will pass one day. We just need to bunker down and be healthy and be good to one another, and this will pass. And we are there now. I don't think everything is, people who know me know that I always say things are purposeful. And so the talk of a vaccine during December is not by accident. It's the hope that people needed. It may not come in December, or it may, the first dose or the first, we get our own allotment, if you will, right? Allotment from the states, from the federal government as it comes down, as all the states and the territories receive their allotment, their share of the vaccine. we're going to get, or we should be getting, if it's not here already, our first allotment, if you will, of vaccine. And so that's the sense of hope that our people need. They've needed since March. And so we're here we are today. We're in the Christmas season, and those of you, especially KWM, great partners to getting the word out. You know that during this time, you would probably have Guam Behavioral Health, myself in talking about the crisis hotline, because pre-COVID, we always talked about how the crisis hotline is here for the people of Guam, with regards to the holiday blues, which is truly is something.
I wanted to ask you about that, Teresa, because we've, as you said, in the media, as long as I can remember, it's always been talked about, the holiday blues, holiday depression. Where exactly, I'm sure studies have been done, but where does that come from? What is it around the holidays that causes that depression, those blues that people are suffering?
Well, it's definitely comes from the fact that during the holidays is a time of gathering, a time of coming together with family and friends. And so those people who throughout the year have been feeling lonely or depressed, that has a heightened experience during the holiday season, because maybe they already feel lonely in March, April, May, pre-COVID, of course. And so maybe they're going through a depression or anxiety already about something in their life. And so the holidays always reminds us how, if you're already feeling like you're lonely, how lonelier it can feel and be.
It does amplify it, like when you're single and all you see is couples everywhere, happy couples. You're just like, well, now I feel even lonelier. So is it just kind of that amplified a little bit?
It is that amplified because the season is about gathering, a lot of love and a lot of coming together. But, whether you're single or not, there's somebody out there who cares. And if you happen to be one of those people that have no family on Guam, who found themselves probably on Guam for work and they have nowhere to go, you got the work environment, and then to make matters worse, because we're in COVID, that is even gone. So you have people who felt the holiday spirits in their workplace. Maybe they didn't have it familial wise because maybe they're not from Guam, but they felt that Christmas spirit and that Christmas love and all that Christmas is about in their workplace. And so this year is very different. So it's heightened, not only because maybe they're already feeling lonely throughout the year, but because it's the holiday season. And on top of that, we have COVID that has forced us to be separated from our coworkers, that maybe that's what they found the Christmas spirit at their workplace. And now they're probably forced to, for their safety, work telework like you, Andy, at home. And so, that the little, where they receive the Christmas spirit has been narrowed or completely taken away, if that's where they're getting that feeling of Christmas spirit in the workplace. And so COVID has taken that away. And so normally you would have me talk about, the crisis hotline, or in the past it's called the holiday hotline, if you recall, called the holiday hotline. And for listeners out there, again, 647-8833, 647-8833. And that has turned into a crisis. I mean, it's always been a crisis hotline number, but in the holidays, we call it the holiday hotline, because that's when I would go on the radio circuit. You'll hear a lot of hyped advertisement about the holiday hotline being available for people who are feeling the holiday blues and to make sure people knew that they're not alone. But since March, the crisis hotline, which is the same number, has been well known or gotten to be well known to the people of Guam. And those of us at the department who have, we're okay with that because that's what we're here to do. We're here to serve.
Therese, you know,
And
federal.
and so it's just going to be instead of normally the numbers going up on the hotline being high in December, it's just been high since March.
Yeah.
That's the only difference. And
But-
so
But are you guys anticipating any sort of a surge in calls at the end of this month with federal funding, CARES Act funding expiring? We could see more homeless out on the streets. Unemployment could even go higher.
yes.
Is that something you guys
the
are preparing
answer to
for?
and the answer to that, Sabrina, is more than likely yes. Why do I say that? It's because throughout the pandemic period from March to now, that's where we always saw a bump. So in average, we average about 500 calls a month. That's about 125 calls a week. We are 24/7 crisis hotline. And, but you always saw a bump whenever there was a major incident or lack of, if you will, in the community. For example, the bump always showed when there was a numerous amount of deaths.
Yeah.
And so, as you know, we have, for the month of November, that was probably the most terrible month because every day we saw a death in our community, which means a wider amount of family members and friends. This COVID hit home because somebody they knew had passed away. And our community is such a community, a communal type of mourning. We go to rosaries and we go to services and we go to prayers. Yes, for the loved one who passed, but really it's for the one who is left behind.
Yeah.
It's for the one that's left behind to feel the love and support from family and friends, because people come over, they pray with them for their loved one, but it's after the prayers, it's after the rosary, if you will. It's the camaraderie, it's the hugging that gets the who gets the loved ones past the hardest time. And so with COVID, that has made it more difficult.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how many, I mean, I've been to several funerals this year that it broke my heart not to be able to hug a family member or a friend.
Yeah.
I've lost several first cousins this year. And you know, we're a very close knit family. Unfortunately, it was not regarding COVID, or at least one isn't, one was and one wasn't. So the not being able to hug our other first cousins and their loved ones who they left behind was a very difficult discipline behavior that I needed to do.
Yeah.
And so COVID has robbed us away from that. But I find comfort, and people find comfort in knowing that, you know, they're throwing kisses from afar and they're talking to them on the phone. So despite what COVID has robbed us from, the ability to hug people and just hold their hand. You know, if those of you if we're touchy-feely, this is a very difficult discipline and practice we needed to pick up, because I'm used to, you know, talking to my friend and holding her hand or rubbing their back or something. I'm just that kind of person. So that was something I really need to adjust in. but you find other ways of soothing your wound. You find other ways, and other ways such as being able to hear their voice or talk to them, or sending them a card and start expressing your feeling in writing. You know, I know a lot of people who've gone back to journaling during this pandemic, writing their feelings down, right? And so the spike is definitely something that we're going to be expecting for several reasons. On top of what people are going through, we got the holidays. So since the spike pre-COVID always happened to the holidays, then we expect it to be higher than about an average of 125 calls a week, number one. And so, Andy, you mentioned, you know, the stimulus money coming to an end. We always saw that. In the beginning, that's where the spike happened. You had a lot of calls. We received a lot of calls. Even though we're the mental health and behavioral health line, we received a lot of calls about the programs, the federal programs. Where's the money? When is it going to come out? But the minute the money started coming out, those types of calls dropped. But an average of 125 calls regarding depression and anxiety is still prevalent. So we do expect a high number of a surge, if you will, during the holidays, because that's what we expected pre-COVID.
And that's
and Theresa,
really
you know, obviously you are there at the department, and so you know that all of these things are in place to help people at least just talk. And I think one thing that maybe you need to deal with, or people out there that are suffering from some kind of holiday blues, is kind of getting over the mamala factor and asking for help, because everybody knows that the hotline is there. Everyone knows that the programs are in place to help them just to talk or, you know, let it all out. But helping people get over that, like, oh, I don't need to, no, I can get through this. What would you like to say to people that maybe, oh, I'm hesitant to call because, oh, I'm tougher than this?
There is that. And because of the surge since the pandemic, I can tell you, Andy, that God, it just slipped my mind. You called it mamala factor, but we call it it just slipped my mind. I'm so sorry. The idea of calling and seeking help has decreased. So the stigma,
Okay.
the stigma of calling the crisis hotline and getting help has definitely decreased, because you have a surge of people where we used to have an average pre-COVID, not including the holidays, December or Thanksgiving to the New Year. We had an average of 25 calls a month. That's like less than one call a day.
Yeah.
So the fact that we have now an average of 500 calls a month tells us that the stigma has greatly been reduced. Now, but there is still a lot of people out there that probably hasn't accessed our services. And for those few people maybe who are out there saying, you know, I'm a proud Chamorro, I'm a proud Islander, I don't need to call, I can handle this. I say there is no one everyone needs somebody at a given time in their life to help them navigate through difficult times. You show me one person who can handle things, and I'm going to say that's probably a 1 in a million, because even the one who is soloing navigation is probably looking at a higher power, which means they still needed to turn to somebody. And that's always wonderful. I'm very religious, and I feel that prayer is the one that got me through this difficult time. But I tell people who are having a hard time calling Guam Behavioral Health to talk about their anxiety or depression, this. If you're okay with going to the doctor, if you break an arm or, or break a leg, we don't think twice. Oh, go to the doctor, go to the regular medical doctor. This is just another type of doctor, somebody who can help you navigate your feelings and your emotions. And so if people need to just not think too much about the type of doctor you're going to or the type of services you're getting. We just need to kind of like not think about the type of doctor and just tell yourself, well, if I can go to my doctor so and so when I have a cold or or a sore throat or broke my arm, then there's no harm in calling somebody to talk through about my broken heart or what's going on in my head, what I'm thinking about. And so I tell people that everyone needs somebody to talk to at a certain period of time of their life. And Guam Behavioral Health is here to let people know that you're not alone.
Sorry, I got a question, Therese. Wanted to ask, maybe because you reached out to.
Jason?
No,
This is Vic.
no, this is Vic, the bald guy.
Oh, Vic.
Yeah, not Chris guy.
Okay.
Yeah, so Hafade, ma'am.
Okay.
I have a question here. For islanders such as for FSM citizens or any FAS citizens from Marshalls or Palau who want to call in, especially during these times, do we have translators? Because maybe some of our citizens, of course, we can speak the second language, which is English, but sometimes we're more comfortable and more open when we speak in our own languages. Would you guys happen to have any translators on hand?
Actually, the translation service is available. We do have a wide array of crisis hotline professionals and trained professionals who, it just depends on the time that they're working. But if it's a situation where they're calling already, they probably know enough English to call the crisis hotline. And if there's a difficulty of talking through their issues, we can always have a follow-up call come to them.
So they could actually call and set up, hey, I'd like to speak to someone fluent in my native language,
Yes,
and then that person
translation.
can get back to you.
Yes, translation services is available, but really it depends on the time they're calling, because there might be somebody who's working the crisis hotline operations who has that second language already, and they might be able to just share among the crisis folks, hey, I have somebody who would rather is English is they're definitely their second language, and can somebody help them? And that could be passed on right away. Or if there isn't somebody, I'm sure that there was enough English to find out whether we can call them back. And so that can always take place. But I hope that that's the case, Vic. I hope that the citizens of the FSM community does take advantage of, because they are among the most vulnerable. And so there has been quite a bit of, as deaths, and a lot of them come from the community, deaths or illnesses, right? So even if somebody has not died, but there's an illness in the family, and as you know, many citizens of FSM, they live together, multi-generational, just to get by, just to survive, because it's more cost effective for them to live together than each individual family household renting. And so even if somebody was sick in that family, that takes a great toll. How do you isolate in a very small apartment or a very small home when multiple generations and multiple families are sharing a home. And so that may cause great anxiety. That may cause some people to be separated, put in the isolation facility. And they're not used to that. People are not used to that. People are used to caring for their loved ones, right, in their home. But this virus is one of those that, if anything, one of the greatest symptom or greatest issue about this virus is it distances us from from our loved ones. To me, I call that just part of it's part of the disease, if you will.
Teresa,
And so
I wanted
yes,
to
go ahead.
follow up on a few things. When we last spoke, we talked about the group home and how it's been cleared. Has there been any other positive cases over at your agency?
No,
Okay.
no. I can tell you we have less in the last, what, 9 months, because it's December and this started in March. We have only had a handful, and I say literally a handful of employees who were positive. And most of that, majority of that, they caught outside. And because Guam Behavioral Health, with the exception of very few specific job tasks, like our security, like our nurses, like our psychiatric, people who take care of our folks in our homes, and our crisis workers who have been open and handle crises coming in every day. Besides them, we have been majority in telework at home. So we have had the advantage, unlike some fellow departments who it's difficult or they just can't telework. So number one, Guam Behavioral Health's advantage is that a lot of the things we do we can telework. Telecounseling, all the counseling happens, most of the counseling happens. Just recently, we've opened it up to appointment by appointment, but it's so restricted. That's one thing that we really got really down in the early days. It's hard to get into the building. Not a single employee can get into the building unless they're cleared by myself or the deputy. So you could be an employee and flash a badge to our security. They won't let you in. You could be a coworker. You will not be in unless you are on the list for that day. And so we have been fortunate enough to have just a handful of folks who have been ill. But unfortunately, one of those folks was a fatality of COVID. So, and that's something that we're dealing with as a staff and as a family, Jipwick family, because what people may not remember is that your healthcare workers, your essential workers who are out there serving you during this time, who have never shut down and never stayed home to secure their lives and their loved ones because they need to continue to work, because it's expected of them, because they're professionals, are humans too. And so we go through the same emotion that everyone else, the fear, same fear. Imagine what we had to deal with in March when everyone wanted to go home. But we had to remind our staff that we are essential and expected to work. Yeah. That was a very difficult challenge, but not so difficult in the sense, if you think about it, because they understood. They, I have a very, very dedicated, I know leaders and directors will say this for all their agencies. They have dedicated employees who, will do whatever it takes. But I really do. I really do. I have really good, dedicated healthcare professionals. And so, and during this holiday season, they may be a professional, a healthcare professional, a mental health or behavioral health specialist that works at Guam Behavioral Health, but they are two humans who may be feeling the fear of COVID or feeling the depression or anxiety of COVID. And so I thank them. But we do have mechanisms to make sure that our staff is taken care of. They all know.
The people of Guam.
They all know that they can always turn. We have like a peer support group in the event that they need to talk to somebody.
The people of Guam, like I said, appreciate the fact that your team is there. Throw out the number again for the holiday hotline.
647-8833, 647-8833, or 4. But 33 is the main number, and it'll just go into the next number.
And it's 24/7. So during this holiday season with COVID, the pandemic, it's totally
COVID or
understandable.
not COVID, Guam Behavioral Health is here for you during this holiday season.
If
And
you
we
just
want
need
to
to talk.
and we want to remind everybody that this is a season, yes, that brings out a lot of anxiety, but it's also the season of hope. Okay? And for many reasons, the hope of the coming of the baby Jesus that we all celebrate this season about. And it's also, there's a lot of good things coming down the pipe. We already know that vaccine is on its way, and several types of vaccine, 2 vaccines. And so I always say, what works for me is when when you're feeling bad or you're feeling depressed. I hate to say it, but all I have to do is turn on CNN and know that Guam is so much better. So our island is really, really, I just want to make a statement. Our island is doing very well, very, very well. The governor 2 weeks ago asked everyone to please, please, please buckle down and let's try to get this CAR score down. And we have. And so in that vein, we know we can do it.
Right.
We know we can do it. And so there's a lot of hope in the air. Spring is around the corner. Christmas is coming, despite the fact that the possibility today, the governor is going to be making some announcements, and that's probably going to be alleviating some or removing some restrictions. We always have to see that there's always something to be thankful for every day. I'm thankful this morning for being able to wake up and know that I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that I have a 7 a.m. Zoom call with you folks, and we can talk.
Well, we thank
there's
you.
always something to be thankful for.
Well, thank you so much, Therese, for taking time to come on. We always hear about the healthcare crisis side of this, but that's why we wanted you to come on to talk about the mental health side of this pandemic, and what